I don't know why the bagpipes always give me chills, regardless of the venue that I'm in. So thank you so much, guys, for treating us with that. My name is Timothy Head, and I'm the Executive Director for our National Faith and Freedom Coalition. So it's a treat for me to be up here today, and also just a treat to welcome you tonight. This is an interesting month for the Faith and Freedom Coalition. Some of y'all were able to join us in June in Washington, D.C. for our national conference, which was the Road to Majority. And we were thrilled to be able to have 12 presidential candidates join us at that event, and many kind of pundits and media personalities kind of considered the Road to Majority the unofficial beginning of the primary season, so to speak, for this year's and the beginning of next year's Republican primary process. And then we see that really the month of September to be essentially a continuation of that. So, tonight we're also, not only are we blessed to have 3 members of the Georgia delegation to the House of Representatives, but we also have several of our statewide elected officials that are with us, and we also have a couple of presidential candidates that are able to join us tonight. Later on this week, even on Thursday, Faith and Freedom is actually going to have another event in Nashville, Tennessee, hosted by our good friend. Anybody familiar with the band Big and Rich? Anybody recognize the name John Rich from Big and Rich? So we're going to have a private concert with him in Nashville on Thursday night with some of our legislative friends and grassroots friends in Nashville. And then me and Ralph and some of the rest of our team will then pull up our tent pegs and head to Des Moines, Iowa for Friday and Saturday. We're going to actually have another presidential forum there in Des Moines with 10 of our current presidential candidates joining us on Saturday night. So, this is an eventful week unto itself, and then we kind of pull up the rear of the state of the month of September in the state of North Carolina with on the 22nd and 23rd, our North Carolina Faith and Freedom Coalition is having a summit with a few of the other presidential candidates, as well as a number of state legislative candidates and public figures with us in Marion, North Carolina there. So a busy next, 15 days? I don't know exactly what that is. But it's a thrill for us to be able to kick it off this year for a busy month that we're in 4 different states and for 4 different important dates coming up that, we really basically see our job as you can kind of look at as, a lot of politics kind of politicians think of themselves as kingmakers, if you've heard that phrase in politics, but we really kind of try to consider ourselves more like matchmakers. Our role is to try to introduce candidates to voters and voters to candidates, and kind of see where the sparks fly. And so our hope throughout this, both in June and the month of September, and as we move forward into next year, that you'll join us in that process. And truly, this is not just a spectator sport. So my hope tonight is that this is going to be an exciting time for all of y'all to stay engaged, and go ahead and let candidates and office holders hear from you tonight as we move through the evening. So. Obviously, tonight's theme with the date of September the 11th makes perfect sense for us to be featuring our heroes and public servants and first responders. And it made perfect sense for us as we were preparing tonight's program to begin with, to me, one of the most perfectly incarnating, public servants I think that we have, not only in the state of Georgia, but frankly across the country. And, I think often about, so in the Gospel of Mark, in the chapter 10 of the Gospel of Mark, there's a passage that says that the Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve and to give his life as a ransom for many. So when we think about September the 11th and frankly just the life of people who truly on a day in and day out basis exist to serve others and not just to be served, our first speaker tonight, I believe, is a beautiful, excellent example of this. Congressman Rich McCormick, not only is he one of our closest allies in the United States House of Representatives, but for those that he represents in Congress, they know very well his decorated history, both in service in the Marines and then also his time as an ER physician, that he is both a public servant, he's been in service here in the United States, but also is a first responder as well. So I hope you would join me in welcoming our first speaker for tonight, Dr. Rich McCormick.
Thank you. It's great to be here with you tonight. Thank you. I'll pay you later. What a fine collection of people tonight. I just wanted to say that it's our faith in freedom that makes veterans and first responders risk their lives for this great country. I was active duty in the Marines when 9/11 went down. That moment changed everything. We formed a rugby club in honor of those Marines that died since 9/11. Just the people we played, rugby players that played on the Marine rugby team. That's now up to 40. 2,977 Americans died in the Twin Towers, in Flight 93, and in the Pentagon on that day. Since that time, we've lost 2,462 military members in Afghanistan. 4,492 in Iraq. And there were tens of thousands who lost limbs, had traumatic brain injuries, and spent months and years away from their families overseas. Suicides, depression, and PTSD still haunt many of us. Why do you think it is that military members commit suicide so much? I think you lose your sense of belonging, your sense of family when you leave the military. You're leaving your family, and there's some sense of guilt when you don't feel like you're serving your country anymore. Service to others is what defines our faith and gives us happiness. It's universal. As a matter of fact, as an ER doctor, I can tell you that anywhere from a quarter to a third of all my patients I see every night have suicide, depression, anxiety, drug and alcohol use. And when I ask them, I ask every single one of them what's going on in their life. All of them are focused right here. I have yet to meet a person who is dedicated to serving others that was depressed or unhappy. For a short time following 9/11, America was united. I was just listening to a police chief from New York who was rushing to the scene of the Twin Towers during 9/11 and came across a couple of elderly ladies who were covered in soot, covered in blood, wounded and limping. And they literally stopped him to ask, where could they give blood? Other people asked, where can we donate? How can we help? People were proud to be American. For a short time, we forgot about our political divisions, and we were thankful and gracious towards each other. Great turmoil can bring out the best of us. I want us to agree on the universal attractiveness of love. The Bible says we should always give a reason for our joy. Not what we're against, but what we're for. If we want to grow a party, if we want to change the hearts and minds of people, don't start by trying to win an argument. No one comes to a church, no one comes to a Bible study, no one comes to a political party if they're being called an idiot. Instead of trying to win an argument, trying to win a friend, and you'll have true influence. No one will care what you know until they know that you care. No one will love what you say until they know you love them more than you love what you're saying. What do we have faith in? It must be confusing growing up in America right now. You're told to turn to the government for what's moral instead of God. You're told to turn to government to tell you what's good for your health care, not a doctor. You should ask the government instead of the business owner when a business should be open or closed, or who they hire, who they fire. The government has been used to supplant not just God, but your church, your community, and your family. This is a unique nation, bought with blood, paid for by the sacrifice of its patriots, and no other country has been formed like it before or since. It is because we believe in the ultimate minority, the individual. We believe that our rights are given by God, not by a government, and we believe that people should always be more powerful than politicians. It's a country worth fighting for. It's a country worth dying for. And it's a people worth living for. Be always vigilant, always ready to protect and serve, and always be embracing your fellow Americans, because we must never forget. And like one passenger said on that fated flight 93, in the worst of times, let's roll. God bless you and Semper Fi.